Inspire Me 360, and in this video I want to continue on the series of, the advice that I would give to my daughter or my son if I had one. And this is about picking and choosing the individuals you decide to share your energy with, and how by really making the wrong choices to associate with individuals can really take you off on a really terrible type of a journey in your life if you were not picking wisely. And I'm going to get into a bit of a story surrounding this, okay, of somebody that was very, in the earlier part of my life, very near and dear to me. Actually, two individuals. They were both bright, amazing, young men. They were very involved in sports, had just infinite possibilities in front of them. And one of those individuals, I was helping them to build their construction company, and it was really, the sky was the limit for them. Huge contracts were coming in. They were really solidifying themselves to become one of the major players in our city in terms of what they were creating with their companies and potentially their life. And this is where who you hang around with and who you choose to spend your time with can really derail everything that you're creating. Because again, this individual, they were somebody that grew up that, in high school kind of thing, they wanted or they needed to have others around them as sort of their friend groups, and they needed to have that, like, I don't know, their bros or something like that. They just had to have this like clique of people around them. And so they started really hanging around with all of their staff who their extracurricular activities were less than desirable. And essentially what happens when we are an individual that, will forego having a certain amount of standards just to have any kind of company. If we don't have standards in terms of the company that we keep, we end up getting involved with energies that are essentially lower vibrational and can really pull us off the trajectory to greatness. And in this particular case, and again, I'm kind of isolating this one individual, those employees that individual had were heavily immersed in drug culture, in basically doing not a lot of positive things with their lives. I mean, they'd show up to work, but they didn't really care about work. It was just a means to an end to get money to party some more. And as an owner of a business, and when you're trying to build something, you certainly cannot be partaking in that kind of energy. You can't be lowering your standards that way, because especially if you're in an ownership position, you have to be very, very organized, diligent. Your brain has to be clear. You can't be partying, you can't be drinking. And if you're going to basically run a successful company. And so again, as the story goes, this individual got tied in with these lower types of energies, partying too much, drugs, drinking, and what that led to is they could not sustain success. They didn't have the mental energy at the end of spending all of this wasteful time doing these extracurricular activities that were just going nowhere and not supporting progress, not supporting being responsible, showing up on time, all of the things that you need to be able to run a successful business. And I guess the moral of the story was, or the eventuality to the story was, that everything unraveled and everything fell apart. And because of hanging around with the wrong crowd, everything beautiful that was built essentially was washed away due to drug abuse, alcohol, partying, and not being diligent to the successful company that was being built. And now, this happened over a succession of years. Certainly, it wasn't like an instantaneous thing. And the slow decline of this of, again, the unraveling of an individual, the unraveling of a soul, it wasn't an immediate thing. It was a very gradual, slow process. And, it happened very innocently. It was like, okay, on a Friday, let's go to the pub and have some beers, and okay, that's fun, so let's keep going. It's 11, I'm tired. Well, the only way to keep going is to, start getting into things that are stimulants, cocaine, other different, types of drugs, and then keep the party going. That party trickles onto the weekend, and on and on and on, and before you know it, your brain is so tired that you really cannot handle your work week, okay? And then this becomes a cycle, because again, when you embarrass yourself or you don't follow through with the dream you're trying to build or the clients that you have, you get into a depressed state. And then when you get into a depressed state, what do? You have these low vibrational friends that are there to come to your rescue with the drugs and the alcohol and pull you out of your slump, but they're actually dragging you into a worse slump until your entire life unravels. And this is what happened to this particular individual. Lost the house, lost the company, lost the car, lost the dream, lost the girl. There it is in a wrap. But again, this is not, I was really talking about two individuals in the beginning of this video, and these were two young men that were incredibly important to me when I was growing up. Losing them both, it happened. There was nothing I could do about it. The second one was an individual, pretty much my brother, that lived with us for many years. Same situation, no company involved, but bright, amazing spirit. This was an individual that walked into a room. I mean, he lived with me for a couple years. He would just brighten the room. He had this energy of, I don't know, people were just magnetized towards him, and he had a way of bringing everybody up. He just always had a smile on his face. He was just this incredible spirit. But unfortunately, same thing, he got involved with the wrong crowd. He was up on the rigs. He started doing a whole bunch of really hard drugs. And the ending of that story, again, circling back to picking the wrong friend groups, or not utilizing enough discernment about who you're hanging around with, he ended up taking his own life. And again, it's not like he was ever that individual who would want to do that, but that's what drugs and alcohol does. After a certain point, your brain no longer can produce dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, so you're in a state that isn't even you. You don't even know how you got to this state, and you're so beyond depressed that the only way to basically level yourself up is to take more drugs, to do more drugs, and it becomes this vicious cycle. And you eventually, through this cycling, you lose everything, you lose everyone, because nobody wants to be around your chaotic behavior, your chaotic activity. And the only individuals you'll attract in terms of relationships are highly chaotic females or males, whatever side you are, watching from. People that are in the same messy energy. And that messy, chaotic energy, when you put two individuals together or a group of individuals together that are, basically unraveling themselves through this lack of attention to any sort of authenticity or goals, is that everybody kind of goes down in the ship together. So this is why it is so incredibly important. This is why I would have this conversation with my sons and my daughters about who you spend your time with. Who you spend your time with becomes a reflection of how you exist in the world, and essentially where you're going, where your trajectory is going. And so it's not at all bad or wrong to walk away from people that are doing things that aren't going to support your future. It's great to have friends, and it's great to be welcomed into your peer group, but if the peer group is just doing a bunch of nonsense, and if everything that they are doing is breaking down the very fabric of your soul, then get away from them. Even if you have to put yourself into kind of more lonely, single pursuits. For myself, this is what I found. I was painting, I was doing artwork, I was working on businesses. I couldn't find a lot of people that were doing the kind of things that I wanted to do, but it didn't matter to me. I wasn't going to slide down that slippery slope of destroying my life. And also being somebody in observation, watching what is the fallout of those people that are doing those things, can be extremely helpful to you. Be an observer. look around. Like, do you like the energy that people are existing in when they are partying, when they're high, when they're just basically not themselves? Like, does that, when you're sober, if you step back and you watch individuals existing that way, what do you observe in them? Do they seem like people you'd want to talk to? Or do they just seem like walking zombies? Do they seem like people that are totally not even in their body or in their mind? Are the actions they are taking, are they nonsense? Are they just, basically not there? Because that's what I experienced. When I go into a party situation where people are all quote unquote fucked up, I can't handle it there. There's nobody there that I could have an intelligent conversation with. I couldn't build anything with anybody there. There's nobody that's going to deep dive with me in terms of having an intelligent, meaningful conversation. And people are sloppy. They're sloppy, they can't put their words together. They think that they're having fun, but they're not. So be that observer. And then, hey, if you observe and you step back and you say, this is nonsense, like this is insanity, and there's nothing fun about that, the only reason these people think that they are having fun is because their minds are somewhere else, not in their body, then that's an energy I'm not going to mess with. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to lower my vibrational standards in that way. We talked about the negative aspects of drugs and alcohol, but what are the other things that you want to avoid in terms of who you want to hang around with? And, if you're looking to elevate your life situation and the trajectory of your life. So let's talk about gossip and people that are basically just existing in this energy of being mean and tearing others down. So this is like your gossip girls or whatever, people that are sitting there cutting other people down, making fun of others, and wasting their time, essentially not bringing forth a beautiful, inspiring energy to the world. Because it doesn't always have to be, drugs or substances that can take you down a negative path. Becoming a nasty, kind of horrible person can affect the trajectory of your life as well. And what I would tell my son or daughter is, if you are hanging around with people that all their goal is to make fun of others or to criticize other people, and that's how they spend their time, first of all, you are not expanding your mental capacity in any way by sitting there and cutting other people down. You're doing nothing good for yourself and nothing good for the world. You're not changing anything, you're not building anything, you're not becoming a better version of you. So those are the type of people, again, that don't associate with them. They're not bringing anything into your life. They're not teaching you anything. They're not inspiring anything good in you. If anything, they're inspiring bad habits, and they're causing you to do things that might not actually align with the genuinely nice person that you are. Now, why would anybody go down that pathway or, kind of become like, say, quote unquote, a mean girl? Well, a lot of people do it for peer pressure, and they do it because they want to fit in. But trying to fit in, first of all, is not something that I would ever tell my son or daughter is worth doing, because why do you want to be like everybody else? Why do you want to fit in with people that are essentially doing things that aren't healthy or aren't kind or aren't good for themselves and others? So there's no benefit to fitting in with a broken mental attitude or a broken set of existence here on planet Earth. And now let's take it a little bit farther, okay? So obviously, when we look at peer groups and friend groups and who you can be around, there are also lower vibrational thought ways of thinking. So this can be people that get into sort of dark thinking, suicide, kind of getting into that kind of macabre delineation of what life is about. It's almost kind of like the tragedy story or the victim mentality, okay? Those, again, people that sit around and ruminate in how life has done them wrong, or get into this really dark kind of dialogue, is not going to bring anything positive to your life. It's not going to make you feel uplifted. It's not going to propel you into joy and happiness and union with a higher vibrational expression of your life. So if you, again, if you're trying to have social connections and you're trying to be part of a group, or assemble that connection, and you're lowering your standards just so that you can be in connection, you're better off to find a hobby. Okay, find something that you really love doing and put your beautiful, creative, unique energy into that solitary thing, rather than going into a descent. So just basically lowering your vibration to fit in with others. Okay, it's not worth it. It won't do anything but cause you to, through osmosis, the slow migration process, you will become like them. Whether you like it or not, who you surround yourself with becomes the reflection of who you are. Because again, it's almost kind of like brainwashing. If all you are digesting is this dialogue and activities of people that are existing in a low vibrational frequency, doing low vibrational things, gossip, drugs, alcohol, hurting others, talking about scary things, focusing on conspiracy theories, the news, all of these different things are low vibrational ways of existing. And if we know what we don't want to do, let's talk about what we do want to do. So, first of all, in terms of creating the best possible version of your life, I've always had this motto that I am going to hang around with and be around with the most inspiring, impactful person I can find in the room. So usually these people are far beyond what I've ever achieved. They have done incredible things. A lot of times they're a little bit older, in the sense that with age comes wisdom and experience, but I do look for people that have accomplished things, business owners, business builders, people that are innovators, people that are highly educated. I love to be around other individuals that have spent a lot of their time educating themselves, people that are well-read, that have a diversity of things that they can talk about, great storytellers. So one of the elements of a great storyteller is somebody that can paint a picture and just brings the room alive, or any kind of social setting alive, through that kind of characteristic that they have. They have almost this magnetism that draws people in, because again, they have this way of telling a story. So this is something that I always watch for in a room. I don't look for people that are, doing things that are against my moral code, or wouldn't be in alignment with how I want to exist. If I end up going to a place where everybody is like that, an example of this was I went to a music festival. I haven't gone to a lot of these, but I did want to try it out, check it out, and it was just mostly a bunch of people in like G-strings doing drugs and totally drunk, and I was like, hey, I'm getting myself out of here, because there is nobody here that would have an intelligent conversation with me. And even though I love dancing, it is a total, complete waste of my time. Okay, so I'm not going to be elevated by this energy. It's very low vibrational energy, and it's going to lead to a hangover. It's going to lead to a lot of things that aren't good. So I'm very mature enough to make that educated decision for myself. It wouldn't be something that I would redo by any means. And what would I rather do instead of being in a situation like that? So I would much rather go to a dinner party with a bunch of people that, again, own businesses, are creators, want to change things about planet Earth, want environmentalists. I love people that are passionate about the environment, watching documentaries, reading books. I would much rather spend my time reading and learning, or watching a podcast, or going on a hike, going skiing, going snowshoeing, getting out on riding a horse, doing a painting. There's a million different things that you can do. Again, whether it's with a group or individually, it doesn't, if you can't find people in your specific environment that want to do these more healing, high vibrational activities, do it alone. I've done a lot of travel alone. I've done a lot of exploring in nature alone. I loved it, especially when I was in tropical countries. I would just get out into the middle of the ocean and swim completely alone with, you know, the beautiful sea creatures with my snorkel mask on, and it's like I would have so much fun with them. And again, it's a totally different experience when you are yourself against the elements, and it's crazy how nature will interact with you. Another example of this, I was having kind of on a solo hike, and you know, took a seat, and this beautiful deer came out of the woods, and it was a big buck, like huge antlers on it. And I mean, at first I was a little bit scared because I thought, okay, this is interesting, I'm just gonna see how this plays out. I sat down, and this huge creature came up and was just like licking my face, like the most beautiful experience ever. But I chose, instead of, you know, having that knee-jerk reaction of, you know, going to freak out at the deer or at the buck, because again, he had huge antlers, so he's a big fella there. But instead of jumping to a conclusion that this nature was out to get me, I just surrendered to the experience, made myself, you know, crouch down, and it turned into this incredibly spiritual thing for me, because I realized in that moment that my energy was very gentle. And so what happened in terms of the experience with the world was that it mimicked my vibration, because I wasn't trying to get anything from that animal. Again, I wasn't approaching the animal. I wasn't trying to take a picture of it or be intrusive into its environment. I merely sat down and allowed the experience to happen. It came to me and wanted to experience what I was. And again, I learned a lot just from that very solitary experience about nature. And it solidified for me as well, because I do live up in Canada. I am a mountain girl. I have a ranch. I love being out in the wilderness. That nature is very healing, and nature will reflect what you are, okay? I've never really been afraid of bears or cougars or anything like that, and I feel that I would never like specifically approach any kind of wild animal, but I also would never be afraid of a wild animal, because I do feel that animals read your energy. So cycling, I mean, that's a little bit of a tangent. I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I just wanted to give an example of the beautiful sort of transformational experiences you can have when you are living authentically and you're living from your highest vibration, and essentially pulling yourself out of the matrix and this sort of constructed societal view of what it means to, you know, show up for your own entertainment. It doesn't always have to be with others. You can do a lot of really, really amazing, fun, transformative things on your own. And then what you find too is when you are posting about what you're doing, you'll kind of draw people that are like-minded to you, people that like to be out in nature, people that enjoy things that are sober activities or art-based activities, or things that are about helping the community or helping the planet. And those are the things that I always gravitate towards, because they fill my soul, and there is never any negative fallout from them or any hangover from that kind of fun. So again, wishing you a very beautiful rest of your week. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I do need to get back to work and create something new and exciting here at our school. Yeah, have a great day.